MSP was in news because of yesterday's announcement. So that much all of you know, right? So is there anything to analyze in the last few days? From mains perspective or from prelims perspective, any prelims questions? India, Australia, born home. Was it helpful for UPSC? Mains. Have you read this article? The New World Disorder by Pratap Banamaya. What about this article? The end of denial. Or this article? No? Okay. So, okay. So we'll see. Honestly speaking, there is no prelims value addition in the last few days. I don't think newspapers are up to the mark recently. And today's Rangarajan article was also overkill. You know, it's like even economy faculties won't be happy to discuss such articles. Very, very boring, dry, and it's not even fact based. It's like
numbers based.
I don't know what to say, but that article is not UPSC article, and obviously it was written by Rangarajan. Maybe we are not up to his level, right? So we will be humble and accept it and move on. What about this article? This article is written by an IPS officer. So all feminists, right, are those who are aspiring for IPS should read this article. And good article. So see, when we say equality, we want to promote gender equality. That is a very common thing, gender equality. And she argues, how does making a police station all women police station or celebrating a particular officer as one day hero, how does that promote gender justice? Okay, so why can't a all men police station do justice to a woman? See, as a woman, if I go to police station, okay, I will not be received properly and nobody is understanding my complaint, right? Then is a solution to start a all women police station. Is there no middle path? Sensitizing men can be one solution, and inducing more women into the police force will also make a solution, right? So that means every police station should definitely have some female officers. Okay, so to accommodate those female officers, you need to have infrastructural changes. These are the real solutions, right? These are the long-term solutions, not short-term solutions. So this is just for attention, drama, or vote bank politics and such stuff. It is not going to work. So this is also a templated answer. STEM sciences. Anywhere, wherever you want to use women empowerment, you can use the same logic. All women or all men is a wrong idea. And even the concept of reservation itself should also be a wrong thing, right? It should happen organically, not because some number is there. For example, in some states, they pass a law saying 25% women will be in police, okay, or 30%. Then you will fill women for the sake of filling the quota. Then what will you do? You will appoint them as stenographers. You'll appoint them as typists, stereotypical jobs, desk jobs, okay, as a station notebook in charge, writer. You are filling them for the sake of filling them, but not for actual problem solving. So that is also what she argues, right? She says, when you have this quota stuff, you do it for the sake of formality, but you don't use it for the overall upliftment.
Something like Pati Panchayat.
Pati Panchayat is totally different. It's more like men not allowing the power to be transferred to elsewhere. Here you are allowing the power to be transferred, but to the jobs you want her to do. You are creating pink collared jobs within the police stations. Yes. Okay. So they are creating pink collar jobs within the police station, which defeats the entire purpose of what? Women empowerment. Women empowerment. And second thing, police is a very visible thing in the society. Yes, Hyderabad have she camps or she police. Okay, that is kind of okay. Why it's okay? She teams. What do she teams do? They roam around colleges or some places where teasing might happen, and they will nab the criminals. But again, it is some job that is to be done by all police officers, not only female officers, right? So that means that's okay, but not perfect. That is not a perfect solution. So sensitization, reforms, more induction, creating that environment where more women will naturally come to be police officers. See, they can be very good criminal investigators, right? A lot of things can happen. So we should create that ecosystem for organicness rather than for boxes. If you put boxes, tick, 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 yes. Reservation, yes. Women are there, yes. 25%, yes. Done. My purpose is solved. The politician will rub his hands. So that is not what we are looking for, right? We are looking for overall empowerment. And in most places, still patriarchy is deeply very strong. Okay. So in such places, if they see a woman in a police uniform, okay, that breaks a lot of stereotypes, and it will act as a symbol of empowerment for a lot of girls. Lot of young girls who see an IPS officer, they will be inspired. They want to be like her. Yes or no? So that is why we need more officers. So that is what she's arguing. A very nice article. So you can read, save it for mains purposes also, or you can take the essence out of it. Essence is more important, right? Sarams.
Don't you think this would qualify for affirmative action?
Which one?
Having all
Women police station. All itself violates affirmative action, right? Affirmative action is only to make it equity, not equality. Right? So your ultimate interest of providing affirmative action is what? To uplift a particular community or to do the historical injustice. So, but what we are talking is beyond affirmative action, right? We are talking about the overall scope. Affirmative action is just a tick box. Have I given 1/3 reservation for women in police forces? Yes. Come.
Sir, there was a case where Priyanka Reddy,
Mm-hmm.
the rape case,
Mm-hmm.
there it was said that when her father approached the police station, they were thinking that she might have eloped. Do you think if they approached the all female police station,
It would have been anything different.
The same.
Yes, I do think so. Because it's not the gender that spoke, it's the police that spoke. Okay. See, you have to understand the subtle difference, right? Let's say I am working in a department where I will look at everybody in suspicion. If someone comes and says, I have lost my wallet, okay, so I may genuinely trust him, or I might find an ulterior motive on why he has thrown away his purse, or when someone says I didn't do some crime, he's actually the culprit. So I start looking at every statement or every person in a duality. Then I start getting these elopement cases. Like some father comes and says, my daughter is missing. 8 out of 10 times she has eloped or went to a friend's place without informing, or she was stuck in some accident or something which she didn't want her parents to find out. So there are n number of scenarios where a girl wants to hide from her parents, right? So seeing all these things, the first thing that comes to the mind of the police rather than the gender is this case is also a elopement case, and the police officer is limited by his rules, regulations, load, burden, and lot of things. For example, I'm an SI, I'm sincere, I joined today, so I want to help a father. So I allowed the vehicle to do the basic research and all those things. So I have spent some human resource, I have spent some fuel, money, etc. Like this, I have done for 8 times. Okay, my quota is filled with the 8. When the quota is 9th time, I don't actually have. I had to put it from my pocket. Okay, because of these all infrastructural limitations or limited manpower, there will be limited police officers in the police station. Lot number of cases. I have to do security, management, any celebrities may be there, ministers. You can understand n number of scenarios where my resources are stretched very thin. Okay, then if a genuine case comes, okay, my first thought is this might also be a case where I might be wasting resources unnecessarily. If it is serious, then I might spend. You get the idea, right? So seeing every elopement case, they think that every case is elopement. It is not supposed to happen, but it is also limited by resources. Okay, and see, for example, if a person goes to a police station and say, register an FIR. Okay, somebody is missing, file an FIR. In some countries, there are rules like the person should be missing for more than 48 hours, only then FIR can be registered or something like that. Okay, I'm not aware of Indian law. Let's assume there is such thing. Okay, 48 hours is very crucial. Yes. After that, do I have the resources? If the system is not supporting me with the enough resources, then how do I do my job properly? I will always take shortcuts. Okay. So I think there are a number of scenarios where we have to understand why police do what they do. So no matter all the sensitization in the world, cannot make a police officer get into his bike and start driving because he is limited by infrastructure, resource. So if you want to change the system, you empower them properly. Okay. And shifts also. Many police states actually, many state police departments are demanding 8 hour shifts. Right now, police officers are working from 12 to 14 hours on average. Only 2 shifts. Right? It should be 3. Then probably I will be less fatigue. So all these things are not discussed, right? That is why police reforms are very important, administrative reforms. Then automatically things will get better. So if a all-woman police station is also there, even they will have the same limitation. She might be more sensitive towards the case, but even she might be limited by infrastructure and other things. Then what will she do? Okay, and that is where the concept of zero FIR has come into the picture, right? We have to create police networks rather than police stations. Yes or no? Police is a network, not a station. Only my division. When one of my friends lost a mobile in Delhi, they asked, did you lose it before the bridge or after the bridge? Before means bridge means that police station. After the bridge means our police station. They do all these things, right? Okay. Why? They don't think it's a network. They think it's all about numbers. So as I was saying, even in FIR case, what happens if a particular police station registers every person who comes to the police station as an FIR? Okay, like 150, 300 FIRs per month. Then according to the SP or according to the existing evaluation measures, your department or your police station is worst police station, right? The next police station is having only 25 FIRs. Your police station have 300 FIRs. You are inefficient in the eyes of the higher authorities. But in reality, if I lost my laptop or something, I should go to a police station and able to get it registered. But police officers are very reluctant to file an FIR, right? Every FIR filed is an impact on their efficiency or opinion. They think having more FIRs is a sign of weakness. Okay, so that culture should also go away. That is why online FIR, zero FIR, these things are coming into the picture. But it takes time for the system to get used to all such things. That is why infrastructure is very, very important. Administrative reforms and infrastructure reforms. It's not that easy, right? The end of denial. This is also a fantastic article from Main's perspective and your overall personality development point of view. This article is written by Kashmiri Pandit. Okay. So she is saying, please don't deny that there is no genocide or crime against Kashmiri Pandits in Jammu and Kashmir. So her simple argument is this. No, it should not be a subjective discussion or it should not be brushed away. Kashmiri Pandit, something has happened to Kashmiri Pandit. Something, what that something should be crystal clear. Okay, as a society, we have to come and accept it. In Times of India, there was an article. It's an infographic which shows, according to the Ministry of Home Affairs, 400 or 286 some Kashmiri Pandits have died during the entire fiasco. This is official report of Ministry of Home Affairs. But according to Vivek Agnihotri, the director of Kashmiri Files, he says it's around 4,000 plus. Okay, so the article started writing, these many people died according to the director, these many people died according to the state. So we all know during COVID pandemic also, state did not give the right numbers. Okay, so as a civilized state, we should not even have such kind of ridiculous debate on how many people actually died. Yes, if a injustice happened, see, they are not numbers, right? 296 families might have been affected. Okay, so as a society, we have to first accept these many people actually died or were killed because of this entire thing. That is point number one. It should not be trivialized. Even one life lost because of all these things is also a shame towards society. Then point number two, don't use this data for political masquerading or to gain political brownie points. You cannot promote hate using our suffering. That is what she argues. Okay, our suffering is true. No one is denying that. And you don't see any single Kashmiri Pandit shouting that kill them. We took all the pain with grace. We took all that suffering with grace. Okay, we never wanted revenge. We wanted justice. Okay, so now if you promote hatred towards a particular community using our image or our suffering, you are doing injustice to our own cause. Okay, we took pen, not gun. That is what she argues. Okay, so Kashmiri Pandits wrote books. They demanded peacefully. They fought for justice. They never promoted hate using their own suffering. Okay, so why are you doing this now to us? Okay, so that is what she wonderfully asks. And see, nobody can deny that, right? She is a part of that entire fiasco. She was a very small kid at that particular time. Her entire family's roots were plucked away and thrown into some other place. And then she wonderfully asks a question. Okay, this line. Both sides suffered in Kashmir. Nobody can deny that. Okay, then our truth can coexist with all our truths. Listen to understand, to lessen the pain, but not to fan the flames. We should understand the pain of Kashmiri Pandits. As a society, as a generation, as a young generation, you may not be aware of what happened in Kashmir. Okay, so at least through this kind of movies, you came to know what exactly happened. We have to accept it. Okay, it's a national shame. We have to accept it. But from now on, what is the best thing to do? To provide justice to Kashmiri Pandits. See, what is the real victory for democracy? To at least try to rehabilitate as many Kashmiri Pandits as possible back to the Kashmir. That is true victory for democracy. If you use that to promote communal hatred in some part of the country, that is not what the entire purpose is, right? And it's a very difficult task. And she asks this wonderful question. Was justice within the legal, administrative, and political system's capacity? Right? Were the killers brought to the books? Were the inquiry commissions set up? Ask the correct questions. Those in power then and now have a lot to answer. So every time you say Kashmiri Pandits, something has happened to Kashmiri Pandits, you also should answer, what are you doing now? That is a real justice. Okay, again, we are not that innocent to believe overnight these things can be done. It might take 10 more years even to think about rehabilitating Kashmiri Pandits, but are our efforts in that sincere direction? Second thing, if there are already some Kashmiri Pandits in Kashmir, okay, so if we promote hate mindlessly, again they will be targeted, right? So if you kill someone in the name of religion elsewhere in the country, again the primary targets will be the Kashmiri Pandits. So to promote a atmosphere or an ecosystem where a Kashmiri Pandit should live in Kashmir, not in some military enclosed apartments, but as a free citizen, we have to create that peace, harmony in the rest of the country as well, right? Second thing, as a country, if we start burying facts, okay, people will try to bring it in one time or the other. Okay, yes. So for 50 or 60 years, the Congress government more or less tried to downplay this entire incident. Now that a different government is in the picture, they are trying to show the true face of the history. Okay, the thing here is it should be as close as possible to the fact. That is point number one. Point number two is there are n number of fault lines in the country which want same kind of recognition.
Like the attention that is getting to Kashmiri Pandits.
The fact, not Kashmiri Pandits, the truth. So you are bothered about truth, right? As a country, you don't like burying the truth.
Yes.
Okay. As a tribal in Chhattisgarh or Dantewada, I don't want my truth to be buried. As a Dalit, I don't want my truth to be buried. As a section of a marginalized society in Tamil Nadu, I don't want my truth to be buried. Jai Bhim. So now everybody wants to bring out their version of truth, not limelight, not highlight. They just want you to hear my side of the story. So as a society, are we willing to do this? There are communal riots, Sikh riots, 1984. Sikhs have been massacred when Indira Gandhi was killed. Hindus were killed in a lot of massacres. Okay, Godhra riots, Muzaffarnagar riots, okay, 1968. There are n number of riots, okay. Then internal displacement of tribals. More than 6 crore tribals have been evicted and thrown away from their homes. Then there is violence in the name of Salva Judum. Okay, system have done atrocities, n number of atrocities in the name of Naxalism. Police officers technically have wiped out villages. They have raped n number of women. Okay, they have burnt, killed the tribals. Salva Judum, you must be knowing. So all these are injustices, right? Okay, all of them should also will be discussed. They will be discussed because everybody is empowered in their own capacity. Okay, the good thing is we as a society, instead of burying fault lines from now onwards, will start discussing fault lines. So this will be a new India where a new social accommodation will be conducted only by discussing things, but not by burying things. Okay, see, no community is that weak, right? Every community is empowered at least in its own capacity. They may receive or may not receive state's patronage. That means state may give support to you or may not give support to you. But in this internet generation, we cannot bury fault lines. Fault lines will be brought out and they will be discussed. So in that sense, I think Kashmiri files have done a service to the country by opening this debate. From here onwards, how the debates will open up, are we ready to do this? Okay, villages and villages of Dalits have been but overnight. Okay, this has happened in this country. So are we ready to see their version of the story? Yes. Again, X is a citizen of India. X have done injustice to Y. So all Y's in the country should get justice. It's not about Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Dalit, tribal or something else, right? They are citizens of India. X have done something wrong to Y. Y is citizen. X is citizen. X should be punished and Y should get justice. We should move in that direction where everybody is equal. Okay.
The tickets were made tax free. Even the Prime Minister also addressed the movie. What do you stand on? Should things like this happen?
Again, see, you have to think of two things, right? Okay, see, the political party is in power because of a particular religious identity, and just like the Ayodhya issue, Kashmiri Pandit is also a very emotional, sensitive issue to all Hindus. Okay, so maybe in his mind, he is promoting that, as a majority of this country, we should be aware of what happened. We should not bury it. That might be his process. They can also be milking it for the votes, but that is a short-sighted blindness. Why? If I milk Kashmiri files, I'm not seeing all the Pandora boxes that I'm opening. Okay? Every other JB movie will make people more alert. Okay, right? And again, in nowhere I'm comparing that happened in Kashmiri Pandits. That means you should also discuss about this. I'm not saying what about or I'm saying that injustice to them is anything lesser than injustice to these people. Every injustice is the injustice. Okay, right? So every injustice has to be heard. At least we should have that acceptance. But I want to have selective hearing. That's the problem. Right? So again, we have to see how many people are willing to discuss all these things. But I think movies like J Beam have brought in some kind of awareness to the society, like these things actually happen. Let's see. State should not be a entertainer of movies, and some states have even given permission for half days.
Assam.
They think that
Police officer.
yeah. See, again, no matter how much you watch or whatever we do, our collective memories will go away, right?
Yes.
Tomorrow RRR will release. Everybody will be worried about
Kashmir files.
right? Nobody will be worried about Kashmiri files, right? And there are always people who try to milk that. Okay, this is not the first time. The woman who was raped and cut into half in the sawmill, Kashmiri Pandit, there was a huge right. So such kind of atrocities have been done. Okay, she is not a martyr. She is an unfortunate victim of a particular thing. But there have been n number of rallying points based on her point. Kashmiri Pandits. This has happened to Kashmiri Pandits. This has happened to Kashmiri Pandits. Okay, nobody is denying that whatever happened to her is wrong thing, right? But using that only purely for promoting hate and getting votes is the lowest form of humanity. Right. Yes. Again, now the burden will be on the government to rehabilitate Kashmiri Pandits. So if not now, then nothing, right? Till now, we had the opportunity to blame the other party. Now, from last 10 years, you are in the power.
On all the forms of expression of speech, movies stand out.
So till now we didn't know. Now we know. Now what did you do? The question is very obvious, right? What did you do? What are you doing? Is it that easy? Every death that will happen from now is on you. So let's see how it goes. And there is also an article by Pratap Banu Mehta. I don't think it is very productive unless your option is PSIR. But the simple crux is this. Every big nation thinks that it can occupy the small nations very easily. Okay, and Ukraine has proved the world and Russia that it is not the case. Okay, so probably the end game that Putin is looking at is having a buffer state within the buffer state. Ukraine is a buffer state between NATO and Russia. Now, if I occupy all the regions, if you see the map that Putin is attacking, that entire, northeast part of Ukraine, right? He's occupying only those regions first. So probably he wants to create a buffer within the buffer. Russia, Russian occupied regions, Ukraine, NATO. Right? So that might create, in the future as a foolproof mechanism. It will have two advantages. One is, even if Ukraine joins NATO, still have some pressure. And second, using the constant pressure on NATO, that Ukraine, that I make sure that Ukraine is not joining NATO. Right? So this can be a pressure on NATO in multiple levels. And whatever the problem that Ukrainians now are facing is purely created by Zelensky. The hero is slowly seen as a villain. Okay? So that is also a narration. And that is why when you come into power hating someone, okay, that will one day catch up with you. That is the best example to see from Zelensky. He came into power because of the hyper-nationalism after the Crimea's annexation. So he promoted that hyper-nationalistic jingoistic language. And even when the Russia was about to attack Ukraine, he was forced to use the same kind of bravado language. So that costed him dearly. So that is one way to look at the entire scenario. Now, what is Russia's end game? Do Russia have a point where it can say, it's enough is enough, I will go back? What are the lessons that China is learning from this point? Okay, if you cannot occupy Ukraine, if you cannot drag Ukraine into a war, okay, do you think a big country like India can be forced into submission? No, right? It will have a lot of ramifications. It will prolong for a huge amount of time. And India also have nuclear weapons. So other nations will be forced to intervene as soon as possible. China is very clearly supporting Russia. Even yesterday, I think today morning, they have given a statement in favor of Russia. And India has abstained one more time. And this time, we also smartly refused to give a statement also. Not only abstention, we also failed to give a statement on why we are abstaining. So that is progress, right? Why that is a progress? We are still resisting the pressure from USA, but at the same time, we are not giving into any camps. To the maximum extent, we are putting, so that shows that India has unlimited pressure from the Western countries and the European countries to change its stand on Russia. But even after that, India is maintaining its technical neutrality in the face of adversity. Yes. So we'll see how it goes. Should India change its stand?
I don't think so.
When should we change?
If there are any grave human rights violations,
Aren't they already? Death of 10,000 innocent citizens is not enough human rights violation.
We did not speak up for Myanmar.
Mm-hmm.
Why would we even speak for Russia?
Okay. So we should not speak for anyone then. Should we?
Permanent interest.
Is no permanent friends. Mark, should India change? Lavanya? No? Why? No. India cannot have any extra pressure on it. India is independent, sovereign, socialist, secular republic. So India should not have a stand. Come on.
Like it's a grave human rights violation. So
It's a
now
grave.
I think,
Now you think that India should intervene.
but again the issue is with our own national security.
Okay.
We speak from one perspective, it has a ramification on our own. So everything has a ramification.
Okay. So have you seen the Tashkent files
Yes, sir.
by the same director? Vivek Agnihotri? What does he say? He says that Russia killed Lal Bahadur Shastri to make sure that India is a weak country which will always be dependent on Russia. So India, if it has a strong leader, okay, it might be a problem. But if India is having a weak leaders, then automatically they will be dependent on Russia. And he says that.
So talks about the internal nexus also. Internal political nexus. Which
CAA, KGB, corruption, Kamraj, a lot of things, right? So then, how did Russia help us? Russia used us rather than help us. So all this will be purely hypothetical. At this present point of time, our problem is not immediate dependency on Russia. Our problem is legacy dependency on Russia. See, 60% of our equipment is Russian based, and we are dependent on the technology from Russia. Russia did not transfer the technology. Russia transferred only the weapons, the systems. If we develop some issues, we need Russian technicians, Russian support, service support. So that is a problem. It's not like I have purchased a mobile and I came back. The maintenance of the mobile is still in the hands of the Russians. Okay, so that legacy issue should also be taken into consideration. Okay, cutting the ties with Putin is easy, but cutting ties with Russia is very difficult. So if we move away from that legacy thing, probably slowly, even if 60% of our dependency on Russian legacy comes down, maybe India might take that risk. So I think it's a moral loss, but a defense victory. We are not criticizing Russia even when it is doing a lot of wrong things, but it is a very clear point for every Indian government from this point onwards not to depend on Russian legacy stuff. So from now on, even if we want to import something, we'll make sure that are you giving technology, yes or no, only then we don't want something which is legacy in nature. Okay, so that is what Pratap Bhanu Mehta is saying. And China, what about China?
who is the last person who takes the call to abstain or to vote in favor?
According to Mr. Syed Akbaruddin, it is the representative at the ground level who will have the last call. For example, in this case, Mr. Timurti.
Yes.
Because when Syed Akbaruddin was there, so recently we have seen this some leaked data, right? New York Times published an article which says there was a quid pro quo between India and Israel or someone. So India got Israel only Pegasus spyware issue. Okay, so that WikiLeaks article said 2017 Prime Minister went to Israel. During the same time, India abstained a vote against Israel related to Palestine because they gave Pegasus. India abstained. Okay, so then Mr. Syed Akbaruddin, who was then representative at UN, he said, in a press conference or a meeting, openly that I never had any pressure from Delhi. Nobody told me what to do. It was my decision alone in the last minute. And he says it's not even a big deal. It was not an important decision, so we abstained something. So I think again, normally in governments, most of the times state or the system will decide whether to abstain or vote. They will always ask the prime minister, right? They will get the final yes or no before, much before all these things. It might be last minute call, still they will consult the right channel. I don't think anybody will take a 100% independent decision in the system. But he claimed that the permanent representative have the last freedom to abstain.
As you said, China will know it is very difficult to
Occupy India.
yes, but again they are calling it this one Eastern NATO. And
They are again.
Indo-Pacific
We have discussed that Eastern NATO discussion, right? Why it is calling as Eastern
yes,
NATO,
sir.
Eastern NATO, because they want to repeat a lie 1,000 times so that it will become a truth. Then they can attack or develop military bases in Indo-Pacific region. Okay, so why are you developing Indo-Pacific region, military bases in Indo-Pacific region? Then China will say, Quad is a Eastern NATO. That is why for my security interests, I am developing bases. Okay, so even the same with this particular article, Ukraine please plan that needs a U-turn. So he argues that UN is more or less dead. UN is not having enough power. UN should do something. They think UN should be doing something.
Exactly, he talks about the person incapacity.
Guterres.
Secretary
Hmm. Hmm.
I think it is UNSC has more to do, sir. So, in so lot of political reforms are needed in lot of structural reforms are needed, as so many static books have written already that there is a lot of European representation. There is no proper African representation. The size of the United Nations Security Council should be expanded. So if it is done, then we can bring those all these P5 nations to terms. We can make them sit. So this is what is happening.
Do you think it's possible to change UN at this point? In today's Hindu also there was an article, right? Should Russia be thrown away from G20? Yes. So should Russia be banned from all UN bodies? Is there a middle path? Should we open up UN? Should we add more countries?
So that's the way out. I see it as the way out there.
See, it's the circumstances which give you that opportunity, right? There is no future thing. If you are doing that, doing now is the best thing because you can bring a lot of pressure and you can convince people when the heat is on. Once Russia-Ukraine tensions, even if it goes by, yes, people will forget there is a Russia. See, think about it when you are reading about COVID pandemic. How was newspaper projecting COVID pandemic? The end of the world is here. Now, do you even read COVID articles? Nobody is bothered about COVID. The same with Russia Ukraine. First 5 days, the entire front page was Russia Ukraine. Already it has gone to the next page. So we stopped bothering about Russia Ukraine in that sense. But it will give a lot of further points for a long term thought process, right? Yes.
Where it will end
When when Ukraine gives a promise to NATO.
Ukraine gives a promise to NATO.
Writing in
Or
the
NATO gives.
Constitution, basically.
Ukraine gives promise to Russia.
But they're already saying.
Again, as I said, who is going to believe? Tomorrow again some even strong man will come into power in Ukraine. He will say I will override constitution. So Russia does not believe all these words. Russia will make sure that it has carved a nice L-shaped buffer. Then it will say come for negotiation. If you open the map today and how much area that Russia is occupying in Ukraine, you will exactly see this.
Yes, sir.
That carved part, the entire top, the entire right hand side, that entire L region is nicely occupied by Russia. That will give it access to Black Sea. That will give access to Belarus. Okay, that will also put a lot of pressure on Ukraine. and that is a buffer between Ukraine, Russia, right? That reason. So Russia is carving a buffer out of it. So once the buffer is completed, then Russia will say come for negotiations.
It's the US that is supposed to give the guarantee.
If there is a buffer, then anybody will, I mean, Russia will take anyone because Russia is also suffering huge losses, right? But I don't see there is a long plan or a long way out for Putin here. The economy will collapse. We don't see how long he will survive. And then a blow to equitable access. This one is compulsory licensing. We have discussed compulsory licensing multiple times. All of you know compulsory licensing, right? So this also is one thing where India can promote a lot of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam principle. That is a prelims question. What about this article? Okay.
And some administrative reforms kind of article.
The non-India service is a must. Okay. Do you agree with that?
I think the capacity needs to be increased, sir. May not be creation of all new service need not be created.
The train is going slow because there are too many coaches. There are too many coaches in a train. That is why the train is slow.
No, sir. It is going slow because there is, the machinery who manages the train are very less.
So what is your problem? No. The machinery, the people who are managing the machinery are too many. There are too many players involved, right?
Actually, crunch is there, no, sir. Like like the basic legislative process.
Everything is crunch. There are thousands of Group A officers, policy makers. Then we have parliament. Then we have, Niti Aayog like think tanks. Then we have standing committees. Why do you think there is a crunch for legislative service? See, what is the purpose of legislature? To make laws. Okay, take data protection bill. Do you think there are less number of experts in India to discuss about data protection bill?
So many experts.
Then why are you not passing it? See, that argument itself is flawed argument, right? Like, why do we have less number of people? We have more number of people. If there are no experts, bring experts from outside. If you feel there are no good economists in the country, ask economists like Raghuram Rajan to come and give their input. That is not a valid argument, right? So think about it. In Lok Sabha, I introduced a bill. That bill will be passed within 1 or 2 days. If the government wants to pass a bill, I can stall a bill for years if I don't want that bill to be passed. So is the quality of the bill that is mattering, or is it the quality of the framework that is mattering, or is it the final discretion of the state that is mattering?
Final discretion.
So then how does the legislative service help the entire scenario? Right? So it's like saying we don't have enough number of IAS officers or policy makers, but a large number of IAS officers are in the field or in the secretariats who are framing the policies. We have think tanks like Niti Aayog. We have lobbying groups like CIA, FICCI. All of them are contributing, right? You open E&Y website, Ernest and Young, or AC Bill, or any other thing. They all have a lot of suggestions for the government on these areas. Okay, every area have an expert, and every expert have a suggestion. So how does one more layer will help you? Have you read this article?
Yes.
By the virtue of having a parliamentary system, we are having the representatives as lawmakers. Their capacity to make a law is not in question. And maybe therein comes the idea of having a legislative service, where we will have people be enriched with, especially equipped to make good laws. Because what all we have discussed now, like FICCI or Niti Aayog,
Hmm.
they are no substitute to the parliament in itself.
Hmm.
So I think this is
Let's say you are a very smart person, you have put in a lot of inputs for police reforms. Okay, you are a young policy maker. There are a lot of PhDs, a lot of policy institutes. Every institute has worked on one thing and one thing alone, that is police reforms. Ultimately, who will be implementing body?
executive.
Who are framing the parliament or who are running the parliament? The same, right? So I will be limited by my budget. I will be limited by my will. I will be limited by my political interest. So I can again dilute your own law. I will only make sure that only those things will be passed which I want to be passed. Then how do you make any difference?
This article argues that having IJS, ILS will give independence to that or that body. That is
Think about it. Election Commissioner of India, the constitutional body. More or less, who runs Election Commissioner of India? An IAS officer. An IAS officer with some affiliation with the state. Okay, I have appointed you as a head of an independent body, but you will work for me. Okay, you have allocated the election in 6 phases rather than in 5 phases, which will be in my favor. Can I show any corruption there?
in kind.
Can I show?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Technically, nobody can convince otherwise, right?
Yes.
But everybody knows that. So as long as you are attached to me in one or the other format, I can manipulate you. Yes, today's Hindu, it argues the same thing. Petrol prices. Oil marketing companies are free to choose their own petrol prices. But why are petrol companies not increasing the oil prices when elections are going on?
Yes.
They are independent, right? In theory. Then why did you stop from increasing the petrol prices? So if you are a legislative body, if you are a legislative service, you work under me. Okay. Then do you really think you will have that kind of freedom where you can bring in any solution and I will allow you to pass? Or there is a luxury for me that I will ask you to bring a draft which will be in my favor. The very draft you are bringing is in my favor. Then I have to debate less, work less.
So you say this would be more like a parallel body.
This will be adding one more layer. See, already IAS officers are supposed to do this. They are in tow with the state. You are adding one more layer, which will again be in the tow of the state. Now it will be even further delayed because I have to satisfy them, this body, then the next body, which has to say, your policy suggestions are good, but the ground level budget is not there. Then two bodies have to work in tandem. A consensus has to be developed, but then it will come to parliament, then standing committees. Adding layers. So what we should do is we should bring the parliament into accountability. Okay, we should make sure that parliament passes X number of bills every year or in every session. You have to pass a bill, and there should be a minimum time for discussion of every bill. Okay, next. That is putting all the onus on the policy makers. Then there are already think tanks like PRS. Okay, attach them to the executive. Every ministry should have a PRS plus Ministry of Industry wing, PRS plus some wing, where interns, people outside the system will be working with the experts and everyone, and they will bring a rough draft even when the session is not there. Okay, let's say, for example, transgenders adoption bill. Okay, that is not even something that macro society is willing to discuss, but you are free today. You create a draft bill, you talk to experts, you create all such kind of draft bills. When the parliament finds there is a need for such thing, there is already some draft. Okay, that can be discussed thoroughly by the standing committees. So now standing committees are creating the draft. So bring or empower an outside body which will create X number of drafts. Okay, those drafts will be discussed by the standing committees. So standing committees will save a lot of time. Then that has to be debated in the parliament threadbare within a stipulated time, and it has to debate X number of bills, 30 bills per session. Okay, minimum this number of hours has to be discussed, and no bill can be passed within 1 or 2 days. Sky won't fall down in 1 or 2 days. So every bill has to be discussed, but this number of hours, and opposition should be definitely given this much amount of time.
Yes.
So instead of adding one more layer, you should make sure that the existing system is getting efficient. Okay, and how do you make it efficient? By making sure that when it is resting, a lot of work is being done outside.
Yes.
Ask any ministry, any department, any issue, there is already a draft bill. Then problems will be identified. Then the same logic applies. Then also the system will pass only what it wants to pass. But at least we will have a table. This is what the bill suggested. This is what the state passed. This is what the bill has left out. For an empowered citizen, it is very clear why those points were left out. If a bill says stupidly that every government hospital should have 1,000 beds, okay, if the state is passing it as a 20 beds, limited capacity, I can understand. But if a bill says every hospital should have 2 female doctors with this much amount of salary and job security, infrastructure, so on and so forth, but it is not passed, then it is the onus on the state. So people will know why something is not passed, why something is passed. That is empowerment of democracy. Instead of adding layers, we are making sure that system is working efficiently. Right? Again, both everybody has the same ultimate goal. The goal of every the writer, myself, everybody is same to better laws, to democracy. So there are other ways to explore this. But again, both his idea or my idea or anybody's idea won't be implemented by lack of political will. They don't want to pass the bills.
The logic behind having stipulated time mandatory for discussing a particular bill. But why passing X number of bills? Wouldn't that promote like passing out bills anyway?
No, it is like, pushing the state to bring out all the important bills.
Yes, sir.
There are a number of pending bills, right? There are some pending, they are pending from ages. Because state is having the luxury to choose and pick only the bills that suits its agenda, it is sidelining a lot of important bills. Right?
And most of the laws are reactive in nature, not
Hmm.
proactive.
Proactive in nature.
Laws are not keeping up with the progress. That is.
Yes. So you amend the bill, even that will be considered as progress. Right? Only when a Nirbhaya happens, we say criminal law amendment has to happen. Only when someone kills a kid as an adoption, then only adoption laws will be strengthened. That should not be the case, right? So there should be a feedback mechanism why old laws needs an update. Right? So again, there is no right answer, wrong answer. His point of view, he is correct. My point of view, I am correct. Everybody can have their own opinion, but ultimately everything should work for better democracy.
But honestly speaking, if you go and talk all these suggestions to people who are in system, who are already burdened with a lot of baggage, a lot of regular administration, will they even listen?
See, an IAS officer would not be happy to listen to this suggestion. Why? His role or his job is being outsourced. Okay, the state does not want to listen to this because it is happy with the way things are working. Why should I discuss more? Why should I pass so many bills? When opposition will waste a lot of time, I will be happy to pass only the selective bills and get my agenda done. Everybody is happy, right? Again, as I said, the first line is political will. If you have political will, you can bring a monkey and make it dance. But if you don't have a political will, you cannot even make Michael Jackson dance. So it all depends on political will. If you have the will, a lot of things can be get done, undone, etc. No political will, no nothing. Right? So no major important articles, no such stuff. If there is anything, I will let you know. So don't worry about this. But do read newspapers on a daily basis, at least till April. Yes. In May you can skip, but till April you have to read. But because your job is not only to clear prelims, right? Your job is also to write mains. These are the major takeaways. Okay. Anything else? Fine.
We were extremely happy to hear that accounting
Mm-hmm.
we are very excited for it.
It took a lot of effort. Yes. See you all tomorrow then. Day after tomorrow, right? Only this week. After that, daily. 5:30 to 6:30 is comfortable for you, right?
Yes.